Brandon, we've been playing around with the idea of China being the dragon, the bear being Russia, and just sort of keeping an eye on the headlines on the news of the day with respect to Bible prophecy, and watching with our jaws hitting the floor recently with all of these articles coming out of China really putting some major investment into Russia the bear, and now this week an article comes out where Russia has sealed a deal with China to keep its financial house in order, so to speak, and they're really partnering up, ideologically speaking, with this whole aspect of the U.S. being the dominant force in the world, partnering up against that idea. And it really is. There's some scary ideas floating around out there, but there's some shocking news today, in fact, that you have come to bring to the table here.
Mike, it's unbelievable. I'm just scrolling through headlines this morning, all the usual places, looking through Drudge and WorldNet Daily, InfoWars, and I run across this article written by Michael Snyder, and he's writing for Economic Collapse blog, and he is documenting the fact of what we've been saying and what most people understand, that China intends to take over the world economy.
Right.
This has been going on for years. They have, it's been well documented that China has actually surpassed the United States as far as the volume of their economy versus the U.S. As well as, it's no secret that China owns at least $1.5 trillion of the U.S. debt that we know of, and I suspect that number is probably higher. As well as, might think of all the documentation in the last year or so of China, the Chinese government buying U.S. corporations and U.S. properties.
Right, sure.
And that's been very prominent. So we know that China has an agenda. We know that they seek to dominate this world economy, this world economic system.
Yeah.
And this world economy is obviously alluded to and talked about in the books of Daniel and Revelation when it comes to this beast system. And you and I have theorized for quite some time, specifically where it talks about this beast and the power will be given to that beast by the dragon.
By the dragon, right.
Yeah, and so if the dragon equals China, and it looks like it very well could, what brings power in this world, Mike?
Well, it is money, and China's got lots of it in the bank, doesn't it?
They do, and so, it just kind of makes sense that that's what they're up to. So again, I run across this article that China is now openly advertising.
Yeah, okay. Now before you go there, I know where you're going here, but I just want to back up the truck a little bit here and just give a little better explanation about why what you're about to say is so shocking. Because the Bible speaks in Revelation 13 of a one world beast which is formed, which is formed by a lion, bear, and leopard combo. And most people who know anything about global geopolitics will know that the bear most accurately is represented by Russia, where the bear is the national symbol for Russia. And it says that it's this one world system speaks with the mouth of a lion. And this is where it gets very critical to understand what you're about to say, because the lion is the animal symbol for Great Britain. Great Britain speaks English. It is an English-speaking nation, and we see organizations like the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation, which has bureaus in virtually every country, including Iran, even, and they are reporting the news. That they're known as the world's radio station. That's their logo. So we have been speculating for a long time now, Brandon and I have, that this one world system will have English as its primary form of communication, and we've documented that even in China, everybody is taught English. If you want to have a government job in China, you have to learn English. The Iranians all speak English when they go to the UN, and when they speak before the world press. English is the common language of commerce around the world. Now, what Brandon is about to share with you makes this fact even more ominous and shocking. What have you got there, Brandon?
Yeah, well, so when I first read this, I see that China is openly advertising that they want their currency, and that's labeled on exchanges as the RMB. And forgive my pronunciation, but it's the renminbi.
Right.
Is the Chinese currency, and so they're openly advertising that they want their currency to become the world currency. Now, here's the kicker, Mike. This article documents, and it has a picture of a billboard just outside of the international airport, one of the biggest airports in the world. Just outside of this airport in Bangkok, Thailand,
right,
is a billboard that shows a picture of this Chinese currency, and the billboard reads RMB, new choice. And then it says the world currency. Now, the kicker here, Mike, this billboard in Bangkok, Thailand is in English.
In English, in Bangkok, Thailand. Right.
The dragon is openly advertising through the mouth of the lion, with the mouth of a lion, that they seek to give power to the world for eternity.
Right. I mean, that is amazing how we are seeing Bible prophecy coming alive today before our very eyes. And not only that, folks, but America still is widely viewed as the dominant force in the world. And if you examine the U.S. military versus the Chinese military, there really is no comparison. The Chinese have a lot of catching up to do, but they may not even have to, because the Bible paints a picture of this one world government having the feet of a bear. And so this one world government could rely on the military might of the bear, of Russia, use the speaking prowess of the lion, which is Great Britain, but be financially propped up by the biggest bank on the planet, which is China right now, folks. I mean, we are seeing all of this coming together. It was shocking clarity and detail, Brandon. I mean, I almost have chills thinking about it.
No, it's unbelievable, Mike. When I read this morning, I mean, listen, you and I have been talking about this and theorizing and speculating. Then when I read this morning, it's like all of the pieces just fell in line for me.
Sure.
And I just said, wow. And again, let's be very clear. You and I are not sitting here today just dogmatically saying, this is it. This is it. Mm-hmm. There's no other possibilities, because, listen, we're dealing with prophecy and a lot of symbolic language. And so, yes, there are other possibilities. But, wow, it just looks like these things are falling into place one piece at a time. And we're just getting to the point to where there's only a couple of pieces of the puzzle that are left to be put in place, Mike.
Yeah, I have to apologize to the folks out there. Somebody in the studio here forgot to turn off their cell phone before they came in. So, shame on you, Dave. Anyway, I mean, when we look at the events recently, even the shameful treatment of Benjamin Netanyahu on behalf of the Obama administration, and revelations coming out that Obama threatened to shoot down IDF planes, Israeli Defense Force planes, if they were to dare to attack the Iranian nuclear facilities. Obama, is being reported, threatened to shoot down Israeli jets and defend Iran. This is shocking, and you and I both know what happens to groups or individuals who dare to speak out against Israel. Because, listen, Israel's here to stay, folks, and it's just time to get on board with that plan.
Yeah, no doubt, Mike, and Mike, listen, you know me, brother. I'm not a gloom and doom, the sky is falling guy.
Right.
But it just comes as no surprise to see China rising on the world scale and the U.S. declining when you see the blatant hatred that is coming out of this White House, of this lawless administration towards Israel. And you just don't mess with Israel and expect to continue to prosper and expect to continue to have God's hand of blessing over you individually or as a nation. And I just suspect, Mike, that, again, we're seeing these pieces of the puzzle. Listen, with the Supreme Court getting ready to rule this summer on gay marriage, and it looks like they're probably just going to give it carte blanche across the country. With the slaughter of now over 60 million unborn babies in this country, and then the blatant hatred coming out of this administration for the nation of Israel. I just think that is an absolute recipe for disaster for the United States.
What did you think of Netanyahu's speech? Impressed? Not? What did you think? What's your impression?
Well, I have to be 100% honest that I have not seen the entire thing. The bits and pieces I've read here and there. It seems that in some ways he spoke some truth, but in other ways maybe he sugarcoated some things. You have to expect that. He's on the soil of a foreign country, and with the threats and the hatred that have been breathed out against him, again, from this administration, you can't just expect him to walk onto the floor of Congress, guns blazing. I thought he was probably very middle of the road. I don't know what your assessment would be, but that would be mine.
Well, he did start out praising Obama for his support of Israel, and I suppose he would have had to do that because, like you said, he is on foreign soil. He's speaking to a foreign people, and these people do have a leader, and he wasn't here to smack down Obama. But at the same time, he did offer, I heard the entire thing live, he did offer a clear alternative to the to the Chamberlain, Chamberlain. He was Prime Minister of England
Right.
when the whole Hitler thing was breaking loose, and Neville Chamberlain went over to Hitler and said, "Hey, look, you can have some property, just leave the rest of the Czechoslovakians alone." And Hitler said, "Oh yeah, sure, whatever. No, let's do that." So, but as soon as Neville Chamberlain left the country, Hitler essentially just goes right in and starts taking over, bombing Czechoslovakia. So then Neville Chamberlain goes back and says, "Look, we got to meet in Munich, and we got to figure this thing out." And so Chamberlain agrees to stand by and watch Hitler take Czechoslovakia, and this is known as the Munich Agreement. And we see very similar things going on, very similar dynamics happening with Obama and John Kerry. I kind of liken John Kerry to Chamberlain, and Obama as King George. King George VI was King of England in the 1930s, and King George gave approval to Chamberlain's efforts to appease Adolf Hitler. And so here we have very similar dynamics going on, with Obama playing the role, if this is a play, playing the role of King George, John Kerry playing the role of Neville Chamberlain, and essentially coming up with a Munich Agreement that the Iranians have already said they will not abide by. The Iranians have come out and said, the day after his speech, the Iranians came out and said, "Look, this 10-year deal, it's no good. We want sanctions lifted right now." So Netanyahu was vindicated the very next day. He said, "They are not going to abide by these things. You might as well give up." And Netanyahu's clear alternative was to keep the sanctions, keep them on them heavy until they give up. Essentially, this is what he said. And Obama's rebuttal to Netanyahu was that Netanyahu did not offer any clear alternatives. So they're rebutting back and forth, but there's a showdown going on between these two. The stakes are very high, especially for Israel, but I would say almost equally as high for the United States, because the way they play this out will directly affect the future of the country, right?
No doubt, Mike. And listen, I would say the stakes are much higher for the United States than for Israel, because, Mike, we know what happens to Israel in the end.
Sure.
We know, because it's been foretold. Now, we can debate where the U.S. lines up in Bible prophecy, and is it there in the end or is it not?
Right.
You and I pretty much agree that it is not, that there comes a time that the United States kind of fades out of end times prophecy. I think that's what we're seeing happen.
Sure.
I do. I believe that we could be watching that happen. But listen, we know that in the end, Israel is still standing.
Right.
Now, it's going to look like they're going to be defeated,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to look like that all hope is lost for them.
Right.
And then you know just as well as I do, Mike, what happens next. God himself intervenes.
Right.
And the whole world, the scripture is very clear, the whole world will know that God himself has intervened, because there would have been no other way that Israel could survive what it looks like is going to happen.
Right. And yet, my two favorite words of the Bible, but God.
But God.
But God intervenes on their behalf, steps in and saves them from total annihilation. And the New Jerusalem will stand in that area, and Jesus will rule and reign from his throne, from David's throne in Jerusalem. Wow, these are powerful times. Powerful message, Brandon. I don't know. People need to stay tuned to this YouTube channel and the prophecy report and all the stuff that we're talking about here. We are going to keep talking about on Freedom Friday, on all of our internet properties. Of course, we do a live show every Friday, Freedom Friday with Carl Gallup. So people really need to listen to that on WEBY out of Pensacola, Florida. Brandon, thanks for taking the time today.
Mike, my privilege, brother. And as always, just encourage folks, read the news out of one eye and read your Bible out of the other eye, and just watch things come to life in front of you. It is amazing the times we are living in. They should be exciting times for those of us who are believers. And if anybody is listening to this who is not, today is the day to surrender your life to Jesus Christ. And if you don't know how to do that, get a hold of Mike or myself, ppsimmons@live.com, and let us help you in understanding what that is.
Well, that's so true, Brandon. What a way to end the show, Brandon. I appreciate it once again, sir.
Thank you, Mike.
All right. See you next time, everybody.